What's up, everybody? All right, so I got to tell you, I'm super hyped for this. We got a very, very special collab with the one, the only, Beyond the Trailers, Grace Randolph in the house. Grace, what is up?
I'm finally here, Brian.
Finally here. This is exciting for me.
Me too.
So for people that aren't familiar with Grace's work, which, come on, Grace does amazing. So Grace, why don't you just introduce yourself to my audience and to people who might just be stumbling across this for the very first time?
Well, I cover entertainment here on YouTube. So my channel is called Beyond the Trailer. So I react to trailers and then I do everything beyond that. So I do box office reviews, latest news. I've been doing some scooping the past few years. So you might have come across me on the Twitters. I'm very active on the Twitter. And I've also even covered some video games, which is actually how I ran into Brian, how Brian and I have kind of like crossed paths at first. And then I saw he was a huge Marvel fan and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. So, I want to say, first of all, thanks, Grace, for being open to doing this fun collab. I know we're all super busy. And for people that, if you didn't see the title of this collaboration already, this is Shang-Chi's characters ranked. So we do 1 through 8. Here you're going to find 8 through 5. And we got some honorable mentions because we don't want to leave anyone out. And then you jump over after this part 1, go over to Grace's to see the epic final 4. And we have a lot of discussion around those top 4.
It's controversial, Brian.
It is. We're trying to shake things up. But like you said, I think people that end up watching the full movie might come pretty close to our list.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think people are going to be surprised by this movie. I was.
Yeah.
I knew it would be good. But the Disney Plus shows have been so good. After Black Widow, I was a little worried that maybe they'd lost their touch with movies. Or movies couldn't compete with a 6-hour movie. But this is this is long. Weren't you surprised how much this is like a little over 2 hours? There's a lot of story here.
There's a lot of story, which I'm okay with. Some people might be like, a little too much exposition. I think it all mattered. I think maybe the part that was a little too much is towards the ending when we became like a CG Dragon Fest. I'm like, let's get back to the characters here. Like, do we really need to see this? Like, that was my only gripe about the movie, but otherwise a spectacular, you called it. Marvel even promoted your comment, top tier Marvel, sweet. Grace.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I was so happy. I was very surprised they did that. But it's funny. We talk about exposition, but it was fight exposition, Brian. So that makes it cooler. This has a lot of fight scenes. I think this has the most fight scenes per ratio to any movie that Marvel's done.
Oh yeah, I think easily, and we've talked about it. Best action scenes in the MCU because we see hand-to-hand combat. There is CG combat, but if you look at every film, okay, maybe let's say Civil War's action was pretty fun, but the visceral action that we see here, because it is martial arts and they pay homage to a variety of different styles, it's incredible. It's incredible. So, okay, we could talk about the movie forever, but I guess we should get to our top, I guess.
Well, first we'll do honorable mentions, right? Do you want to do honorable mentions?
Let's do our honorable. Do you want to do our honorable mentions first?
Especially because you promised me a surprise.
Fine. Okay, so we did tease in Grace's video.
Very curious.
If you're coming from there, we do have characters that are not on this top 8 list. We're going to show you at least who are the competitors here for a moment. So take a look at this list. These are the 8 characters that we're going to rank. But if you don't see someone on here, we're also going to talk about our honorable mentions right now. So you're the guest here in this video, Grace.
Thank you.
I'm going to let you start. And, I don't mind even opening it up to a few, but what's your honorable mention from Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings?
Well, you and I were trying to figure out our combined top 8. And this is how this came about. We were like, well, can we really leave Wong off the list? And then we're like, but isn't Wong a cameo? And how can we get Wong in here without cheating? And then this is where honorable mentions came from. Yeah. And then I was like, hey, Brian, obviously we both would just say Wong. And you were like, not true, Grace.
No.
So that's where, and you wouldn't tell me who your honorable mention is. So that's why, I thought I would guess it because I have a second honorable mention. And you were like, no, that's not it. That's not who it's going to be. So I'm very excited.
Okay. So who's your first honorable mention?
Wong. I thought he was so funny. I thought he was great. I mean, it's a very small part, which is why we couldn't make him one of the 8.
Yeah.
And especially the end credit scene that he was in. I thought he was so funny there.
I mean, that was amazing. The karaoke tie.
Oh, that was
whether you're Asian or not, karaoke is just the late night thing. I mean, this movie spoke to me in so many ways, but karaoke is one of my top things of all time to do. We haven't been able to do it because of pandemic, but yeah, to put him in that scene, come on.
It was such an incredible callback.
Yeah.
It was just
incredible.
amazing. I love that.
The other thing about Wong is that he really, when he speaks to Katie and Shang-Chi at the very end, he says something along the lines like the trajectory of your lives will be unlike anything you've ever seen before. And that had heart because he was really kind of speaking to the actor and actress by welcoming them into the MCU.
Yeah.
In that world, but also their characters in the movie.
Yeah, I love that. It totally works on both levels. Totally. I think their lives, I mean, obviously Marvel is a really big family, which they make their fans a part of. And they even, I think they invite everybody into the family, you know, like I think they run a really great house over there. And so so that's great.
Okay. Right, so Wong is your honorable mention. Do you want to guess who mine is? Just guess.
Well, I thought it was going to be John. I was like, oh yeah. I thought Ronnie Chang also such a small part, you know, like when they first cast him and you saw him in the trailers a little bit, I thought he was going to stick around a lot as like the second friend. I thought he was gonna be the second friend, and so I was so happy that they teased him a little bit because he's like, it's funny. I thought of this. It's really interesting because he is to Xialing what Awkwafina is to Shang-Chi.
Yes.
They both have their comedic sidekicks.
Yeah, 100%. John was under strong consideration. I was actually going to kind of give him like an honorable mention, like on the side. But was John your second honorable mention or
yes,
not?
Those are my two. Okay. I thought that those guys were both absolutely fantastic.
Okay. My honorable mention, my official honorable mention is Morris. Morris is the little creature who is absolutely crucial to this movie. I tried to find out who was the actor or who did the voice for Morris. We're going to have to figure that out over time. Someone's going to leak that out. I don't know who made the cute little cuddly sounds for Morris, the winged turkey without a face, but Morris.
Yeah. You just totally threw me. You were like, who did Morris's voice? And I was like, who the hell is he talking about? Because I don't remember Morris talking. And I was like, I got totally nervous. I was like, Morris? And yeah, but I guess it's like whoever does like the droid voice, like, you know, like
Miley Cyrus did for,
right? Like beep, 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 and everyone's like, who did the beeps?
Yeah. So, and the reason why Morris is literally crucial to them getting through the living forest and getting them to the point where they can get to Ta Lo before Wen Wu gets there. So Morris is my honorable mention because without Morris, they don't beat Wen Wu to Ta Lo to save the village.
This is fascinating because, you know, Ben Kingsley's Trevor Slattery is going to appear somewhere on this list. But this is something, I think you might be right. I didn't even think of this, but a real gift to Ben Kingsley is getting to interpret what Morris is saying. That was really hilarious and came up with so many great jokes because Ben Kingsley wasn't doing a direct interpretation. And he'd be like, I don't know what Morris means. That's just what he said. And so that came to that's just really funny. I thought that, you know, you're right. For something that didn't have a face, I did come to love Morris more than I would have ever thought.
Dude, I mean, I heard like ahs in the viewings when they'd see Morris, like audible, like, oh, and I'm like,
oh, really? I was more like face. Katie and Shang-Chi, where I was like, what the hell is that? Speaking of face, that had no face. Nope. But then that horse that they came across had like extra face.
Yes, extra face. I mean, right? The majesty of Ta Lo, though, and Ben Kingsley and Morris's introduction into this movie completely changed the direction of this movie.
Oh, yeah. And Ben Kingsley was also great there because with that horse, he was like, why is it looking at me?
So good. So you're going to have to wait and see.
Great one. You really surprised me.
I thought it would be a surprise. I
was.
Wanted to. For people that know, we just kind of agreed to our general list, but we didn't talk it out. We wanted to surprise each other. So that kind of makes it fun. And this is a totally like just happening discussion. So, okay, let's let people are like, are you guys going to get to your 5 through 8 already or not?
All right.
We're going to.
There are chapter times. There are chapter times.
Yeah. We'll do that. Okay. At number 8 of this 1 through 8 list, we put the death dealer, Andy Lei, as the number 8 character in Shang-Chi ranked. What did you think of his role?
I thought he would have been higher before I saw the movie. He gets a character poster. He's in all the trailers. I was like, I think that's how you knew the Soul Eater meant business. Cause you were like, did he just kill the Death Dealer?
I mean, that's the thing is that, to your point, when you get a movie poster, you mean something. So it's like, I was more curious about who that was.
Yeah.
Purely because they had a poster. This is a person, an actor who is covered in makeup and a mask. So, I'm not saying maybe before you see the movie, you're like, oh, Boba Fett vibes. Like, who is this mystery masked man? Right. Like everyone wants to capture that magic. Everyone wants to capture that magic of like, who's the Boba Fett of this movie?
Yeah.
But the martial arts displayed by Alex Lay, the flips, the kicks, and really also kind of elevating Simu Liu's martial arts at the same time. With their sequences. Death Dealer, great role. Didn't speak at all from what did he have it? Yeah, he didn't have
No, he never spoke. But I think he looked really cool. I thought the design on that was really great. Like he was visually arresting.
Yeah.
And it was like a delicateness to the mask.
I agree. I think
it was great.
Yeah. So do you have any other comments on Death Dealer before we roll on to number 7?
No, because he didn't have enough to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Whipped his hair back and forth with his ponytail, and then he was out of there.
Threw some knives, threw some kicks, killed some dudes, died. I mean, that makes sense. Appropriate for number 8. Okay. Number 7, Jiang Li, played by Fala Chen, the mother of Shang-Chi. Fala Chen, I was not quite honestly familiar with her work. I kind of tried to avoid getting into too much of spoiler territory with Shang-Chi so that I could be surprised. But loved her role and the artistry and the grace. We have Grace here as well. But the elegance that she showed was amazing.
I have to say, in that opening scene where she and Wenwu have like their flirtatious fight, I was like, who is this woman? I was enamored with her as Wenwu was, which I think speaks also to the directing from Destin Daniel Cretton. I mean, I just thought she was just incredible. She just seems so regal and so beautiful. And when you first see her under the bamboo hat that she's wearing, under the brim, you can just see like her sly smile of like, you shall not pass. And she was serious.
I also, because I didn't know she was in the movie per se, I first thought her character was going to be Michelle Yeoh's character because you have the hat tilted down. There's a bunch of mystery. And I'm like, oh, I thought that was going to be Michelle Yeoh. But to her credit, she carries her role like a champ. Her telling the stories of her history and the mythology to young Simu or young Shang-Chi, that's a huge element of the story. And then when she has to face off against the mobsters without her powers that she sacrificed to be with Wenwu, Tony Leung's character. I mean, MVP, you always say star in your role. She was a star in her role.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like that scene where she had to, her final moments where she thought for a moment she could maybe take them until more showed up. You felt that. She was like, okay, I think I can handle 8. And then they were like, oh, no. And they just, it was very sad. But I liked that the movie, Shang-Chi comes from a criminal family, so he had that past. But I thought she did a wonderful job. I couldn't believe they didn't have a escape hatch at that compound. I'd be like, I'll be right back. I'm going to go look for Wenwu. He'll be right out, and then just run out the back.
I mean, I guess they could have done that.
What?
I guess they could have done that.
That would not. She's a more honorable character.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Wenwu.
Yo, let's roll. The thing about it though is also right. Some of these characters in life, they're important. Her death is the linchpin of all the motivations behind what Tony Leung does as Wenwu in the movie. Her death is what takes him back to the 10 Rings. Her death is what motivates him to try and revive her and bring her back from that dragon scale death soul eater monster tunnel. So she plays a really huge role in so many aspects of this movie.
And I also thought it was beautiful how much I mean, they said, Michelle Yeoh would be like, oh, you're very much your mother's son. But I felt that Simu Liu was Fala Chen's son. I felt that connection between the characters, which I thought was really nice.
Absolutely. So Fala Chen playing Jiang Li at number 7. All right. Number 6. Who could it be? We're going to go with Jia Ling, the sister of Shang-Chi, played by Munger Zhang, a newcomer to Hollywood cinema. Being on film was new to her. Wow. If there's a character that you want to learn and find out more about, Jia Ling, Shang-Chi's sister, was spectacular in this movie.
Right? And I like that she is like in this gray zone between good and evil. I mean, she is the Talia al Ghul of the movie. And I love that. Analogy. I agree. I think that she had to go evil to make her character interesting. You know, at the end credit, I think that was the cherry on top of the sundae. I think until then you were like, is there room for her and Awkwafina? Does Shang-Chi need both of them? And then when you see what they have planned for her to take over the 10 rings, you're like, yes.
Do you think she's being bad though? Or do you think, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like she's kind of shaping it in her own way. Do you think
she's running a business, Brian?
as dark as her dad's? As dark as her dad's?
That's a good question. I did think it was interesting that she opened up that anyone could join and be an enforcer, right? She was, women. I'm glad she didn't go all women. It was anyone could join. Anyone could be a criminal who would be interested. I think it's more along the lines of her Fight Club. Like, I think she operates in the gray zone.
Yeah. But
I got the feeling that the 10 rings kind of did too. Even this version. I don't know how evil they were. I don't know. I guess that's the question. Do I think that Jia Ling's 10 rings would kill? I do.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely do, because she is at her heart still trained, raised to be an assassin. I mean, quite honestly, she arguably has more baggage than Shang-Chi, because she was kind of denied the ability to get trained. She was put on the side, treated as like, oh, little girl, you can't learn, you can't, quote unquote, train and play with the big boys. So she was self-motivated. Like, this is why her character to me stood out, is that, they gave her a story arc that not only made sense, but was empowering. She's sitting down and talking with Katie, or Awkwafina's character, and saying, like, my dad didn't let me do anything. So I went out, I left at 16 and I did it myself. Yeah. And Awkwafina says this funny line, because it's just so appropriate. She just looks at her, she says, hell yeah. And everyone in the audience
was a great moment.
It was a great moment,
because
right?
The camaraderie between the two female characters was really nice. And I think that, Jia Ling, like, what is her path? She's like, the whole movie, she's like, what am I going to do? What's my path forward? And I think she still has that question at the end of the film, which is why she's like, well, the 10 rings is just sitting here. I think it's great that she was like, why would I dismantle this?
Like, I'm gonna make this mine. The other thing that told me that people really loved her is, I remember seeing some reviews and someone said, why didn't Jia Ling get more screen time? Like, I felt that she was put on the sidelines. Well, I'm going to remind people, whether personal feelings they have, the movie is called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings, but clearly they're setting her up for bigger things in future sequels to come. So
she can be in any Marvel movie now.
Oh, 100%. She's going to roll out with Shang-Chi at any time too. Like, if they need her, like, their dynamic, the fact that she uses the spear on the rope, and her martial arts style is completely different than Shang-Chi's. So the dynamic of them two working together, which they did at the end, that's going to last for as many Marvel movies as they put them in. Yeah.
So and I would love to see her show up on her own. Like, I think, like, in the Disney Plus shows,
Disney Plus series.
I love Disney Plus shows. But, like, the thing is, they say at the end of the movie, the 10 rings will return. Not that Shang-Chi will return. I mean, obviously he will, but that the 10 rings will return. And, I want to see what she's up to. I want to see her carve out a space for her that is not dependent on her brother.
That's a great distinction that you just made.
Thank you.
Because they don't say Shang-Chi, nor every other Marvel movie will be like, the Avengers will return, Captain Marvel will return, the Guardians of the Galaxy will return. Here they just say the 10 rings will return.
Oh, that's right. Because it's not only the organization, but it's also the physical 10 rings. Oh, I like that. So, it's a great world they created here.
Oh yeah, when they can expand the MCU into these new places that are fantastical but also grounded, it just gives them so much more to play with. The other thing, I mean, when we talk about that, going off on a tangent, is this movie's taking place in San Francisco, and people may not when they're watching it, hey, there's a couple superheroes in San Francisco, Ant-Man and the Wasp, that drove down and wrecked up those same streets, that Shang-Chi and Katie did. So who knows what could happen down the road, but I've got to imagine when you have three or 4 MCU superheroes placed in San Francisco, they're going to have to eventually get together.
Well, it's funny you say that because I've been saying that I feel like Katie and Shang-Chi have very much the same kind of vibe as Hope and Scott. So, just reversed, because like Awkwafina's the Paul Rudd. So I know that, well, we're going to talk about, and then in the other video, we talk about whether or not we feel there's a romantic connection between Katie and Shang-Chi, but maybe they could go as like foursome out together. That would be a double date that I would love to see in San Francisco.
Oh man, that's amazing. That's
right?
Amazing.
There's a short, at least a short.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Xialing, Shang-Chi's sister at number 6. So
one other thing I want to ask you very quickly.
Yeah,
do you think she'll keep her Fight Club? That could be something interesting that she could do with the 10 rings. She could have the Fight Club still, because I like the idea of a Marvel Fight Club.
Ooh, I mean, maybe John, Ronnie Chang's character, because he's kind of like her partner in crime or her side kind of helper person, assistant. Maybe he runs those operations, right?
That'd be awesome.
Right. But, we did see John with Razor Fist at the end on that wide pull out shot. So he'll be back, and maybe he gets a bigger role. And like you said, Disney Plus series. I mean, they've done so well, so amazing with them. Like anyone's story, they haven't screwed it up yet, and they're not going to, quite honestly.
Yeah, no. I mean, it went from something we weren't sure about to now being like a really great honor, being like, oh, are you going to get maybe a Disney Plus series? Are you good enough to warrant Disney Plus series? And I think if you were going to pick a character in this movie, it would be the 10 rings, maybe.
Yeah. Great call. All right. So we got 8, 7, and 6 covered. Gonna go to number 5 right now. Left on the table: Tony Leung, Awkwafina, Ben Kingsley, Simu Liu, and Jiang Nam. Who do you think would be our number 5? Who do you think? Grace, do you want to tell them who we picked at number 5?
Yes. It was a tough call.
Tough.
But we had to put Michelle Yeoh here, aka Jiang Nan.
Yep.
It was hard. We it got a little more difficult as we got down to the bottom, because as we talked about, Michelle Yeoh is a legend. I mean, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh my goodness. Everything she's done, legendary,
right? Seen
her in Crazy Rich Asians. You're like, oh, they got a legend. And they brought the legend to Shang-Chi and the 10 rings. Now she shows up in the last third of the movie. And, this list considers not only how much screen time, but their impact on the story. And she was impactful because she basically directs Shang-Chi to find himself, teaches him some of the ways to defeat his father. I mean, we arguably could have put her like 1 or 2 in many ways. But
in terms of like the importance to the authenticity of the film, she and Tony Leung really, I think, make this an important movie.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of story, as you're saying,
I think people that look at our rankings are going to be like, how did you put Michelle Yeoh at number 5? I'm like, okay, are we going to take Simu Liu down to 5 through 8? Is that what your list is? And someone's going to be like, yes. and if Simu hears about this, he's going to be like, why would you put me in the bottom in the 5 through 8?
Well, also, I know he's like, it's my movie, but also I think that Michelle Yeoh's character here, while she's important to the orientation of the movie, she has very little fighting.
True.
I mean, she teaches Shang-Chi some really important stuff, but she actually does not have a fight scene. Mm-hmm. So I think that's another reason she's number 5.
The also part is, look, when movies kind of have to walk us, the audience, through storytelling and a lot of exposition, Michelle Yeoh probably has that sequence where she's telling the story of the history of the Soul Eaters against the carved wall.
Oh, I loved that.
And so to that point, right? That's not easy to do, because that's a part where sometimes an audience could get lost.
Yeah.
Or feel
or tune out.
Tune out. Like, what? Okay, just get to the ending. But again, because she is a living legend on screen, even things like that have so much more gravitas and importance. And so, she is number 5 based on the storytelling, but obviously as an actress, I mean, we're talking about top shelf here.
Oh, incredible. Yeah. I'm glad she's getting so much. She's worked her whole life, and I'm glad she's continuing to get so much work. She just was awesome in Gunpowder Milkshake.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, she's a supporting character, but she gets a cool fight scene at the end. She does a nice job, of course, because she's Michelle Yeoh, but she's great.
So, okay, so we did our honorable mentions, our top 8 through 5. At number 8, Death Dealer. Zhang Li Fa Chen at number 7. We have Jia Ling, sister of Shang-Chi, at number 6, and Michelle Yeoh at number 5, which means who are our top 4 that we're gonna go talk about on your video?
Yeah. So the 4 we have left Shang-Chi, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We've got Awkwafina.
Ooh, crucial to the movie.
Tony Leung. And then Ben Kingsley, still alive here. Where are we going to put him?
Still on the table.
Right? You would think maybe he would be top, 5 through 8. So we
thought differently. We thought differently. And this is why it's fun. So definitely, thanks for coming out to watch this video. You got to watch the final 4 on Grace's channel, Beyond the Trailers. Grace, if you could, kind of just remind people some of the awesome work you do. I'm so honestly, this is like really a privilege and honor for us to do this crazy collab. I hope people that see this are going to be like, what? And then they're gonna be like, I'm gonna watch this.
Oh, it's so fun. It's great. We both love this stuff so much. And I've had such a good time talking to you about it. That's what makes these movies even more fun, talking about them. And I'm so glad we finally got to collaborate. I mean, I just love talking to you. I think we have a great chemistry.
Yep. So everyone, after you watch this, jump over to Grace's channel where you'll find the final 4 of our rankings. But until then, we'll see you guys soon. Take care. And thanks, Grace.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.